We're back out here at the Big Lake once again, and today we're talking about what might be the most important tool you have in your entire arsenal. Stick around, you don't want to miss this one. I got him. It's a giant. It's a giant. Whoa. And here is this video's featured comment. Congratulations! If you would like to have a chance to have your comment featured in an upcoming video, all you've got to do is leave a comment. And now, on with the video. Welcome back to Lowbrow Fishing. And if you're a regular viewer of the channel, you already know that I really like these little guys. A soft plastic stick bait, a Senko. I can tell you how to Texas rig them, weightless or with a bullet weight. I can wacky rig them, I can NACO rig them, I can even Waco rig them. I can show you so many different things to do with this little guy right here. It'll make your head spin. But even I have to put these down from time to time. See, today we're talking about the most important tool that any angler needs to have in their arsenal, and that is adaptability. You have got to be able to change when the situation calls for it. And the summertime is one of the biggest times that we're going to have to change how we fish. Those fish, for the most part, are going to be pulling out deep. And if you're like me, a shallow water finesse fisherman who likes to skip up under brush, well, sometimes that can be a problem. And when that shallow bite, well, it can dry up, especially if that's all you're doing. Those fish, they get wise to what it is you're doing. So today when I got to the lake and I started fishing this morning, skipping and pitching up under brush, I started with, of course, a wacky worm and a NACO worm. I went to a small bitsy bug jig, and for about an hour, hour and a half or so, I didn't get anything, not even a sniff. And what was worse is I saw activity everywhere. There were fish busting up all over the place, but yet I couldn't buy a single bite. So I decided to myself, well, now is a good time to change gears completely, and we're going to move offshore. So that is exactly what I did. It was a good thing that I actually brought some extra gear with me today. I didn't just bring the worm box. I actually brought my deep diving cranks and a whole bunch of different jigs and a plethora of other items that I was going to use, swim bait heads, swim baits, and things like that, because I really wanted to fish offshore today. I wanted to see if that shallow bite was there. It wasn't, so I moved offshore. Now, the first thing that I did was when I started to move offshore was I took this worm and I fished it weightless on a Texas rig. And it didn't take but a few casts before I actually had a bite. I set the hook and I started to bring it in, but I ended up losing that fish. Oh, I got him. Oh, and he let it go. Okay, well that tells me something. He had it by the tail. He had it by the tail. All right. See, what happened is that fish just bit the tail. The hook was still text posed when I got it to me. That told me a lot of information. First of all, it told me that yes, indeed, those fish were out more toward the middle of that channel, more toward the main part of the lake. And it also told me that I didn't quite have the right presentation, whether it was the color, whether it was how it was falling, whether it was how I was working it, whatever. But I needed to take that information and I needed to adjust what I was doing. So I decided to tie on something that I had not tied on since the winter. And that's this guy right here. Now, regular viewers of the channel, those of you who have been around for quite a while, will recognize this. This is something you guys used to call the lowbrow rig. And it's just a hack attack swim jig, quarter ounce, with a 3.5 Rage Swimmer swim bait tied onto it. And I started swimming it around. Let me get that hooked on there. And I just started swimming it around. And it didn't take long that I adjusted the presentation. I was adjusting the way I was reeling it, started to do a little bit of Alabama shake with it, and well, this happened. Totally missed that fish catch on the stinking lowbrow rig. I had a fish on the lowbrow rig that makes me mad. I don't know why my camera keeps shutting off. I have plenty of battery. I don't know why it does that. That's very annoying. Anyway, there it is. There's the nice little one little bitty pounder I got on the whatever it is I'm fishing, the lowbrow rig. Hadn't caught a fish on one of those in a minute. So I got a small fish, nothing huge, maybe not even quite a pound, close to a pound. But again, that was another piece of the puzzle. I was able to put it together. Now we've got bluebird skies today and we had just a little bit of wind. So I need to take all this information and I need to start putting it together. So I did something that, well, I rarely ever do, something that I never really do. And that was I actually tied on a jackhammer chatterbait. Yes, I do have a few. Those of you who know me and know this channel know that I'm not the biggest fan of a jackhammer. I much prefer a thunder cricket or a slobber knocker. But I do have a few jackhammers, and today I tied on that jackhammer stealth. And I started casting it around. Maybe they wanted something a little bit more noisy, especially with that wind. Maybe they wanted something a little bit faster, so that's what I did. We've got this jackhammer stealth here. I've got that little rage bug that I've got as a trailer. I've got it turned sideways a little bit. A little bit of wind out here during the day. We're going to see what that does. I don't much use a jackhammer. I don't really particularly care for them. I know a lot of guys would say that's just the craziest thing they've ever heard. I got him. I got him. Little bitty guy, but he went after the jackhammer. Please tell me I'm rolling. I don't want to lose this one. Yeah, he's probably right at a pound, but all right. You're gonna have a story to tell all your buddies. All right, so the jackhammer. The little jackhammer stealth comes through. I got me a little bitty guy. Yeah, right at about a pound. Thank you, little dude. Yeah. Always gonna like it when they double dip like that, when they give you that little extra jump. All right. Just caught a little fish on the jackhammer. Little bitty guy, but you know, it's a start. We put a couple fish in the boat today by changing up what it is that we're doing. We have changed up our strategy and our tactic. Right now we're just kind of drifting down. And this is grass, but it's a big grass. No, that's a fish. Ooh. It's actually not a bad fish. Come here, you. Ah! Darned it. Darned it. That was my fault. That would have been the nicest fish of the day. Let's get back out there. So, you see, it didn't take me long at all, and I had a nice fish, and, well, then I had another bite that my dumb butt ended up losing right as it came to the boat because, well, I got anxious. I tried to horse it, and I actually had that fish good, but what happened was when it swung in, the boat ended up knocking the bait out of the fish's mouth. So I don't really know if I want to count that one, you know. It was maybe 1.25 pounds, not quite 1.5 pounds, but still, that was 2 really nice bites on the chatterbait. So I know that I'm getting close. I know that those fish are not only out deeper, but they're actually active and they want to chase an active bite. So that made me think, okay, what else can we do? How else can we approach this situation? What are some of the other options that we have? And this is what I came up with. So I reached deep into my tackle box and I pulled out something that I haven't really used that much on this channel before, and that is a deep diving crankbait. This is a classical leader. I believe this is a Lucky Craft. This is a fairly shallow diving, well, for a deep diving crankbait, this maybe get to about 8 to 10 feet. But I wanted to try it, see if I could take the tops of that vegetation when I was fishing deeper water. Now, bear in mind, I don't have any electronics on that little boat, so I'm just pretty much blind casting. I know what's under me for the most part. I've been over that water with the bass buggy. I've graphed enough times that I have a relatively good idea of what's down there. But, you know, as far as structure, things can change over the course of time. I really haven't graphed it in a few months, so I'm blindly casting. I know there's hydrilla down there. I know there's some flooded brush down there, some submerged brush down there. So that's basically what I was trying to cast to from memory. And I didn't have any luck with this. And I tied on a couple other deep diving crankbaits. I even tied on a Berkeley dredger that gets down to 14 and a half feet just to see, you know, if I could just really rub that bottom. But I didn't get any, you know, no takers were on this. So we moved on to something else. So what I tried next was this guy. You know, back to this. You've seen this before. This is the Ozuri jerkbait. Um, this is the newest jerkbait in my collection. I just got this recently, but I figured a jerkbait bite might be the play today. Those fish, they do seem active. They didn't seem like they were right along the bottom, so they maybe were, you know, suspended somewhere in the middle part of that water column. So I thought maybe the jerkbait would work. And I worked this jerkbait around for a little while, like I said, basically trying to work those places that I knew were there from memory. I worked it along points, I worked it along the submerged creek edge, but other than one bite, I really didn't have any success on this. And then I realized, okay, they're probably going to be set up off the main deep channel. That's where the bulk of the fish are probably going to be right now. They're going to be pulled off on that main lake, off of those main lake points. And I happened to know where one was at, one that was close by. So I had one more idea that I was going to try. So I reached into my jig box one more time and I pulled this out. This is a 1/2 ounce football jig. And I have a rage bug, I believe that's a structure bug for a trailer that I've cut down. And I started fishing right in the middle of that main lake, right off of the point, in the deepest part that I could get to. I figured with this brown jig, you know, nothing fancy, nothing great, no rattles, you know, no flash, no nothing. Just try to drag that jig along the bottom. Just go back to basics. It's something that I'm comfortable with. I'm very familiar with jig fishing. I'm very familiar with dragging a football jig. So I figured, why not? Let's see if we can go ahead and generate a bite that way. And well, ended up getting the nicest fish of the day. I figure 1/2 ounce is probably about right for this area. We will see. That felt like a nibble. That felt like, I don't know what that was. I don't know, it might have been something. I got him. It's a big, it's a giant. It's a giant. Whoa. On the football jig, kids. And he choked it. There we go, almost, there we go, I got you. All right. Yeah, that's got to be close to 2.5 pounds. That's easily the best fish of the day. Now that's what we're talking about. Dragging a jig right there. All right. Thank you, buddy. And there he goes. So, the football jig turned out to be the deal. I ended up getting a couple more nice bites on it. It was a nice pattern that really turned into something a lot more productive toward the end of the day. Unfortunately, I ran out of time. It was time to get up off of the water. I have other commitments that I have to do, but it was nice to be able to get out on the water for a few hours and do some exploration. Now, as we talked about before in videos on junk fishing, this is what I call junk fishing with a purpose. I wasn't blindly casting. I wasn't blindly looking at my box and going, oh, let's try that one. No, I was thinking the process through. I was going by what the clues that I had, what was working, what wasn't working, and what were the conditions around me. And then I adjusted and reacted accordingly. And I was able to put myself on some nice fish. I went from having a day where I wasn't catching anything to, well, landing some pretty nice fish. So I cannot complain about that. So there you have it. If you're willing to change, willing to adapt, and willing to read the clues and put the puzzle together that you get whenever you're out on the water, well, you can go from not getting any bites to landing more fish and better quality fish. It's what I did today, and I'm sure you can do the same thing as well. Thanks for watching Lowbrow Fishing. We'll catch you in the next one.